Developing tonight, Governor Jay Inslee is charting a new path forward in our reopening of our economy during the coronavirus pandemic.
The approach announced this afternoon could lead to reopening indoor dining and fitness centers. KOMO's Keith Eldridge is live with how this regional approach will work. Keith?
Right. Up to now, the governor's been dealing with COVID-19 county by county, but now he's changed this drastically and is going to deal with it region by region. Now, when you take a look around the state, they put out a map. The region around our area is King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties. That's Puget Sound area. North of county is going to be Skagit and Whatcom, Island, and San Juan. The northwest region, Clallam, Jefferson, Kitsap, and Mason. And the west region of Thurston, Lewis, Grays Harbor, and Pacific, and so on around the state. In order to get to phase 2 of reopening, there have to be 2 weeks of 10% decreasing trends in case and hospital admission rates, a less than 90% ICU occupation rate, and less than 10% COVID test positivity rate.
It allows us to now see a path forward. We are not there yet as a state. We are all committed to getting there, though, as a state. And these metrics allow us information in communities, in the regions, to be able to make decisions on where we are and also to understand how we're going to be able to move forward.
So none of the regions currently qualify for movement to phase 2. And yes, if there is a worsening, a backwards movement under the criteria that Lacey described, that a region possibly could go backwards, you obviously hope that that would not be the case.
Right, and to move to phase 2, you saw the requirements, and if that happens, restaurants could go back to indoor dining at 25% capacity. Same thing for indoor fitness centers. Sports would have limited spectators, and weddings and funerals would have increased capacity. Right now, as you mentioned, the governor mentioned that no counties right now qualify for that. We will know a different answer on Friday when they take new metrics to see if any of these counties and regions can move ahead. At this point, we're not hearing of any of that are able to, but if they are, they could do so on Monday. Reported live at home in Buckley, Keith Eldridge, KOMO News.
Preston, and some business owners are disappointed and frustrated. They say they feel like they've done everything they can to follow these restrictions safely, but it's just not good enough.
It's been a challenge. And to hear that announcement today was a little disheartening.
Theo Martin was anxiously hoping indoor dining would be allowed immediately, even in a limited capacity, but not yet.
It just doesn't seem right why restaurants are being punished or closed when we're doing everything possible to reopen up.
His outdoor dining tent at Island Soul has no customers on this rainy night. He even remodeled inside, fitting with social distancing standards.
We put booths in versus one long table.
Instead, indoor dining can only come back at 25% capacity in phase 2, but there's no guarantee regions will be able to move into phase 2.
We just want to open up, to have that opportunity to go back to work.
Nice work.
As for fitness centers, there's a tiny bit more leeway.
For now, we just keep putting one foot in front of another.
Phase 1 allows one person to work out per 500 square feet. Phase 2 is 25% capacity. At Fit for Mom South Seattle,
this space here is about 750 square feet.
Rachel Garcia put that in perspective for the small studio.
That leaves us with a class of 4 or 5. It doesn't really even cover the cost of an instructor for us. And then back to that same quad.
Since all classes have been virtual since March, and with a cautious clientele, anything helps, even crumbs.
So we'll just keep meeting people where they are and keep offering them what we can in the way that we can and keep people safe.
Well, guys, good evening. We're still making our way through phase 1A, which are those frontline healthcare workers and those working and living in long-term care facilities. But the state says they're going to announce soon who's going to be in phase 1B. But even those folks are still going to have to wait some time before they get a shot.
Governor Inslee says progress is being made.
We are continuing to work out the wrinkles in this system.
Vaccines have been in Washington for a few weeks now as frontline workers in long-term care facilities are receiving their first or second doses. But there have been some speed bumps along the way.
We're still building up the capacity.
In places like Snohomish County, they've received 40,000 doses of the vaccine, but have only administered 11,000 shots.
That just speaks to the difficulty of getting the capacity to administer up.
Even with so many doses left to give, Spitters says it's taking more time because it's a new vaccine.
We're on our way. We're making progress. But like any process, it takes a while to reach full speed.
But to the governor, we're moving at the right pace.
No system in human knowledge that I am aware of has ever started a process of this dimension and not had wrinkles that you're ironing out.
He says those wrinkles aren't overshadowing the success many areas have had inoculating folks in Phase 1A. Inslee listed 4 hospital systems in Washington that have administered anywhere between 67% to 96% of their vaccine supply.
We will continue to improve this system on a daily basis, and I think we made progress even today.
Secretary of Health Umair Shah says they will most likely announce who will be included in Phase 1B later this week.
Our work is not done. We're still in the midst of this pandemic, and we remain concerned.
Heavy rain is fueling concerns about a growing landslide situation near Poulsbo today. The local fire department there says people were evacuated from 8 homes on Seclusion Cove Way, and there's no word about when it'll be safe for them to return home. KOMO's Suzanne Fawn has the latest.
We got really lucky last night. The citizens that live down there got lucky.
Firefighters and county leaders say things could have been much worse when a landslide struck the Seclusion Cove area last night.
It's a hillside from up above that's giving away.
Poulsbo Fire got a call from people living in the area.
They either saw or smelled the fire, and they actually went outside and didn't even know that this hillside was sliding next to them.
And when crews responded to find a boathouse burning, they also discovered something much more serious and dangerous, a landslide, one of 8 homes in the area hit by mud and fallen trees.
As our second or third crews were going in to start evacuating, that they could hear the trees along the hillside actually cracking and breaking. So they knew that they were dealing with a pretty substantial incident.
Kitsap County leaders say of the 8 homes threatened, 3 of them were empty, and a total of 8 people were able to get out safely. Today, county leaders, Puget Sound Energy, they were all out to assess the damage. The narrow driveway to the homes already undercut by a previous landslide. Kitsap Department of Energy Management told me today 2 of the homes to the north have been red tagged. Residents will not be allowed to return there. As for the other homes, people have been allowed to return to get essential items. Deputy Chief Russell says landslides can sometimes be deadly, like what happened years ago in Bainbridge.
I was on duty, and we heard the call go out.
A family was killed in that landslide.
It was a terrible, terrible situation. I always kind of reflect back to that. Like, well, that's the potential. That's the real risk we have as we start having, mudslides and landslides on these big hillsides behind our residents.
In Poulsbo, Suzanne Fawn, KOMO News.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for checking out our YouTube page. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell from the KOMO Weather Team. You can see more of our videos right here by clicking on the video links for additional news from the Seattle area and Western Washington. Oh, and don't forget to click the subscribe button below so you don't ever miss our YouTube updates.